Look, I'm not saying this is how I thought my career would go, but when 5 guards in full combat armor show up to escort you and you're just trying to fix a air recycler, it does make you wonder about your life choices. They're massive too, like properly massive, 7-8 ft tall each, covered head to toe in matte charcoal armor that looks like it could stop a meteor, and they're not making a sound, which is somehow worse than if they were stomping around. At least stomping I could hear coming. These guys just appeared like they teleported, and I'm standing there with my multi-tool in one hand and a loose panel in the other, wondering if I should wave or run the lead. One steps forward, its wedge-shaped head tilting, and I can see thousands of tiny hairs bristling under the helmet rim, its exoskeleton flashing purple-black through the gaps in the E armor, which I'm pretty sure means they're either stressed or about to arrest me, possibly both, so I do what any reasonable person would do. I smile and say, is this standard hospitality, or did I win Employee of the Month? The guard doesn't respond, just gestures with one of its arms, which bends in ways that make my joints hurt to look at, and I notice its hand has like 5 fingers, but arranged all wrong. 2 thumbs, 3 fingers, and they're all moving independently, like it's typing on an invisible keyboard. Look, I say, trying for casual. I was just calibrating the atmospheric processor. It made a weird sound. Guard's exoskeleton shifts to a deeper purple, almost black now, and it makes this vibration that I feel in my teeth, rather than hear like someone's playing a bass note directly into my skull. I'll take that as a no on the calibration thing, I mutter. Here's what happened 6 hours ago, and I swear this wasn't my fault. Well, it was definitely my fault, but I didn't mean for it to happen, which should count for something. I arrived on Cathara Orbital Station as part of a human contractor exchange program, which sounds impressive until you realize it means they needed someone cheap to look at their human-made equipment, and I was the only one dumb enough to take a job on a station run by giant blind aliens who navigate by vibrations and electromagnetic fields. My first assignment was simple: check the air recycler in Corridor 9 Delta. It's making unusual sounds now. When Spock, the station administrator, told me this, I should have asked what counts as unusual to a species that can hear frequencies I didn't even know existed. But I didn't, because I'm professionally incompetent. It's not like my brand, so I head to Corridor 9 Delta, which is this narrow maintenance passage with exposed conduits everywhere and flickering orange safety lights that make everything look like it's on fire, and I find the recycler, and yeah, it's making a sound, kind of a rhythmic clicking. I pop the panel open and immediately realize I have no idea what I'm looking at. See, the thing about Membraxis technology is they build everything based on senses I don't have. There's no visual indicators, no color coding, no helpful labels that say this end up. Everything is designed for vibration detection and electromagnetic perception and chemical sensing, which means to me it just looks like a bunch of weird organic-looking components plugged into each other at random angles, but I'm here to fix it. So I'm going to fix it. I pull out my scanner, which immediately I'll starts beeping angrily and displaying readings that make no sense. The electromagnetic field is apparently oscillating at Hz, which I'm pretty sure is impossible, but The scanner seems confident, so who am I to argue? I figure the clicking is probably loose connection. So I start tightening things. First bolt I touch, the clicking stops. Oh, I say, feeling briefly competent. I fixed it, then every light in the corridor goes out, then the lights come back on, but now they're strobing green and blue. Then something starts shrieking. An alarm that sounds like a whale having an existential crisis. Then the floor gets really hot. I should mention that the Membraxis use bioluminescent floor strips for lighting because they don't actually need light, they just have it for visiting species, which means the floors are partially alive and it's hot. Apparently, I just gave them indigestion. I quickly untighten the bolt, the shrieking stops, the strobing stops, the floor cools down, the clicking resumes. Okay, I say to the recycler, we're going to pretend that didn't happen. I try a different approach. I pull out my multi-tool and start checking the connections visually, because that's literally all I can do. And I notice one of the cables seems corroded. Well, not corroded exactly. More like it's grown fuzz, which is disturbing on several levels. I brush the fuzz off the cable, sparks. The spark hits another cable. That cable releases what I can only describe as a puff of angry purple gas. The gas drifts into the recycler intake. The recycler makes a sound like it's coughing, then it starts working perfectly, silent, smooth, exactly as it should. I stare at it suspiciously. Music. The recycler continues. Working perfectly, you're welcome. I tell it and close the panel. I report back to Spock feeling pretty good about myself despite the minor electrical fire incident that we're not going to talk about. Spock is in her administrative hub, which is this circular room with walls made of woven fibers that pulse slightly when you talk because they're detecting vibrations. Her exoskeleton is a pleasant purple-green color, and her sensory hairs are relaxed, which I've learned means she's calm. The recycler is functioning, she says, and it's not a question. Her vocal slit vibrates in this weird harmonic way that sounds like three people talking at once. Yep, I say, fixed it, no problem. Her sensory hairs suddenly stand straight out. What did you do to the bioengineering lab, she asks. I blink. Nothing. I wasn't anywhere near the bioengineering lab. Her exoskeleton flashes through purple to orange, back to purple, her two arms crossing over her torso in a way that suggests stress. The enzyme production vats are operating at 400% efficiency. She says the nutrient cycler is processing material it shouldn't be able to process. The atmospheric composition in that entire sector has shifted 12% toward oxygen, and the bacterial cultures are reproducing in geometric patterns that spell what our translation systems insist is the word oops. That's I start, then stop because I have no idea how to finish that sentence. The bioengineering lab shares atmospheric circulation with corridor 9 Delta. She continues, her sensory hairs quivering. I say in a small voice. Then Jash Rax showed up. Jash Rax is the head of station security, and where Spock is relatively calm and diplomatic. Jash Rax is what you'd get if anxiety and paranoia had a 7FT8 in. Tall baby covered in orange chitin with stress patches. His exoskeleton is always some shade of purple black, and his sensory hairs never stop twitching. And right now, he's vibrating at a Frequency that makes my fillings ache. The human, she says, her voice flat. Spock gestures with one of her arms, which bends at both elbows in this fluid motion toward me. Jash Rax's exoskeleton goes full black. What did she do? His vocal slit harmonics are discordant. Angry, I fixed an air recycler, I say. Defensively, you destabilized the entire station's biological infrastructure, he says, taking a step closer, his spine-covered feet making absolutely no sound on the floor, which is terrifying. You altered electromagnetic fields you shouldn't be able to perceive. You triggered cascade failures in systems that aren't connected. How I mean, I say, when you put it like that it sounds bad. Spock's sensory hairs droop slightly. It is bad, but everything's working. Now I point out. Jash Rax moves closer, and I can see his exoskeleton rippling with color, changes purple to black to orange back to black, working. He repeats, the bioengineering lab is producing compounds we didn't request. The navigation systems are detecting phantom signals. The food synthesizers are creating substances that match no known chemical composition. Are they edible? I ask. Jash Rax's entire body goes rigid. That's not the point. He vibrates. Look. I say, I'm just a maintenance tech. I tighten some bolts, brushed off some fuzz. That's it. I don't even understand how your technology works exactly. Spock says quietly, and her sensory hairs curl inward. You don't perceive an electromagnetic field. You can't sense vibrations below 20 hertz. You can't detect chemical signatures. You operate purely on visual input. Yeah, I say, not sure where this is going. That's pretty standard for humans. Jash Rax and Spock exchange what I'm pretty sure is a look, even though they're both blind, their sensory hairs angling toward each other in some kind of silent communication. You shouldn't be able to affect our systems at all. Spock says slowly, you lack the sensory capability to interface with our technology, and yet I broke everything. I finished. Jash Rax's exoskeleton flashes bright purple, his vocal slit producing a sharp vibration. Sabotage. What I yelp? No, I'm just bad at my job. There's a difference. He doesn't believe me. I can tell by the way his sensory hairs are all pointing at me like tiny accusatory fingers. Spock too raises one arm. Wait, Jash Rax, we need to understand what she did before we. That's when the lights go out, all of them station-wide. And in the darkness, I hear Jash Rax's vocal slit vibrate with one word. I didn't touch anything. I shout. The emergency lighting kicks in, bathing everything in red, and that's when the 5 guards show up, which brings us back to now standing in the maintenance corridor surrounded by armored Mem Raxes while I try to explain that I really truly didn't mean to cause a station-wide power failure. One of the guards reaches for me with its weird 5-fingered hand. I step back and my elbow hits the wall panel. The panel pops open. I grab it to push it closed. Something inside sparks. The lights flicker. Then every screen in the corridor starts displaying what looks like my personnel file, but translated into Mem Rax's vibration patterns, which means the screens are physically shaking. Oh, come on, I say, that's not. Even the largest guard lunges forward. I dodge, trip over my own feet, fall into the exposed conduit, grab a cable to catch myself. The cable comes loose in my hand, and somewhere very far away, something explodes. The explosion isn't loud, it's more of a deep bass thump that I feel in my bones, followed by every alarm on the station, deciding to have a collective nervous breakdown. Sirens are wailing in, frequencies that make my eyes water, and the floor is vibrating so hard I can feel my teeth chattering. The guards freeze their sensory hairs, all pointing in the same direction, toward whatever just exploded, and their exoskeletons flash through this rapid color sequence: purple, orange, green, back to purple, like they're having a silent panic attack. I'm still holding the cable. I look at the cable. I look at the guards. I very carefully put the cable back where I found it. Alarms get louder, so that says one of the guards, and stops like it doesn't know how to finish the sentence. Wasn't me. I try, but my voice comes out squeaky and unconvincing. Josh Rax's voice crackles over the station intercom systems, his harmonics distorted by static containment breach in Sector 7. All personnel evacuate. Bioengineering is experiencing what? He pauses. Catastrophic enthusiasm. Catastrophic enthusiasm. I repeat, what does that even mean? The lead guard grabs my arm with one of its weirdly articulated hands, gentle but firm. We need to move, now and then we're running. Well, they're running with their three jointed legs eating up distance in these long loping strides. And I'm being half dragged, half carried through corridors that are now strobing between red emergency lighting and complete darkness. We pass a viewport, and I catch a glimpse of Sector 7, which is glowing bright purple and appears to be growing, like physically expanding, the hull bulging outward. That's not good. I say. The guard doesn't respond, just pulls me faster. We end up in the security analysis chamber, which has padded dark gray walls and floors designed to dampen vibrations, probably so they can interrogate people without the whole station listening in. Very reassuring. Josh Rax is already there, his orange exoskeleton almost black with stress, his sensory hairs vibrating so fast they're blurring, his two arms gesticulating wildly as he communicates with Spock, who just arrived, her purple-green coloring flickering like a broken light. Explain, Josh Rax, he demands, pointing at me with both arms simultaneously. You touched one cable, one, and now Sector 7 is producing organic matter at exponential rates. I hold up my hands in surrender. I put the cable back. Spock's sensory hairs droop. You put it back wrong. There's a right way. I ask. Josh Rax makes a sound like grinding metal. The cable you disconnected was a feedback regulator for the bioengineering lab's growth inhibitor system. Oh, I say in a small voice, by removing it, even for 3 seconds, you created a resonance cascade in the electromagnetic containment field. Spock continues, her vocal slit harmonics taking on this lecturing tone. The bacteria cultures detected the field disruption, interpreted it as a reproduction signal, and began multiplying. But I put it back. I protest. You put it back. Inverted. Josh Rax vibrates. Polarity is reversed. You didn't stop the cascade. You amplified it. The station shudders. We all look up. Well, I look up. They sort of tilt their heads and point their sensory hairs at the ceiling. Sector 7 just expanded another 40 meters. Spock says, reading from a display. That's vibrating information at her. How is this possible? The structural integrity field should contain any biological growth. I'm getting the sense I should maybe just not touch anything else I offer. Jash Rax's exoskeleton goes fully black. You should maybe be launched out and airlock. Hey, I say that's a bit harsh. I'm just trying to help. You're trying, Jash Rax repeats, his whole body vibrating with what I'm pretty sure is rage. You destabilized 6 interconnected systems, caused a station-wide power fluctuation, triggered a biological reproduction, cascade, and somehow reversed the polarity on a cable that doesn't have polarity. I mean, when you list it like that, I start. It's growing, Spock interrupts her. Sensory hairs all pointing toward a display sector. 7 is now 40% larger than original specifications. The organic matter is breaching containment, and her vocal slit makes this weird stuttering sound. It's singing. I repeat, Jash Rax and Spock both tilt their heads in that way. That means they're listening to something I can't hear. The bacterial cultures are producing rhythmic vibrations at harmonic interval, Spock says slowly. It's beautiful, actually a complex polyphonic structure with focus. Jash Rax snaps, his sensory hairs quivering. We need to stop this before the entire station becomes a bacterial concert hall. Can't you just turn off the power to that sector? I ask both of them. Turn toward me, their sensory hairs focusing on me like spotlights. We tried, Jash Rax says. The systems aren't responding to commands. It's like his exoskeleton flickers through confusion patterns, like they're operating independently. Oh, I say, have you tried turning it off and back on again? The silence that follows is deafening. That's not. Spock starts. I'm already moving. Because here's the thing about being professionally incompetent. You develop instincts for chaos. You learn to think in terms of stupid solutions that shouldn't work but sometimes do. And right now I'm looking at the display showing Sector 7, and I'm noticing that the biological growth is following the electromagnetic field lines, which means it's using the station's own power grid as a guide. I need to get to the main power junction. I say absolutely not. Jash Rax blocks my path with both arms, his exoskeleton flashing warning colors. Look, I say, you're right. I'm a disaster. I broke everything, but I broke it in a really specific way that you can't understand because you perceive things I don't, and I perceive things you don't. Spock's sensory hairs curl with interest. Explain. Your systems are designed for electromagnetic and vibrational control. I say, talking fast. Everything interfaces through fields and harmonics. But human equipment, the stuff I actually know how to fix, it's all visual circuits and physical connection. And Jash Rax vibrates suspiciously, and I think I plugged your biological systems into the equivalent of a human light switch. I continue, they're getting constant power with no regulation because the systems can't detect the feedback. They're designed to sense. They're looking for electromagnetic signals, but I created a urine physical bypass. Spock's exoskeleton shifts to a lighter purple. You're saying the growth isn't following our control systems anymore. It's following basic electrical current. I say, like the dumbest possible path. Which means if I cut the physical power feed, not the electromagnetic field management music, but the actual cables, the growth should stop. Spock finishes. Or Jash Rax interjects, his sensory hairs standing straight out. You'll cause another cascade failure and destroy the entire station. I shrug, that's definitely possible. Yeah, another shutter runs through the station. This one's strong enough to knock me sideways. Sector 7 is now 60% larger than baseline. Spock reports and it started expanding into Sector 6. We're out of options, Jash Rax says. And his exoskeleton does something I haven't seen before. It flashes pale green, which I think means submission or acceptance. Fine, human, do whatever chaos you're planning, but I'm coming with you. Spock nods, her sensory hairs drooping. With what might be exhaustion or resignation, I'll coordinate evacuation. Procedures, try not to kill us all, no. Promises. I mutter. Jash Rax and I head toward the maintenance corridor junction, which is this claustrophobic nightmare of exposed conduits and flickering orange lights, and cables running everywhere like technological spaghetti. He moves in complete silence, his spine covered feet gripping the floor with precision while I stumble and bang my shins on every possible surface. The singing is getting louder now, even I can hear it, this weird thrumming vibration that makes the air feel thick. Your people are insane, Jash Rax says as we navigate around a bundle of cables that are sparking ominously. You operate purely on visual input. You can't sense the fields around you. You interact with technology like I'm poking it with a stick. I offer, yes, he says, and his exoskeleton flickers with what might be grudging amusement. Exactly. Like that. How did your species even develop space travel? Very carefully, I say. And with a lot of explosions, we reach the main junction, which is this massive nexus of cables and conduits all feeding into a central hub that's pulsing with blue light. Jash Rax stops, his sensory hairs quivering as he reads the electromagnetic fields. The feedback loop is concentrated here, he says, but I can't determine which cable is creating the bypass. The field signatures are overlapping. That's because you're looking at it wrong, I say, stepping forward. I'm looking for the one that doesn't belong, the one that's not supposed out to be connected. I scan the junction visually, ignoring all the alien technology and focusing on the basic principles of electrical flow. And there near the bottom is a cable that's plugged into a port at a slightly wrong angle, like someone forced it. That one, I point. Jash Rax tilts his head toward it. That's a secondary coolant regulator. It's not connected to bioengineering. It is now, I say, because I'm betting when I caused that first cascade, the system automatically rerouted power through backup channels and found this port, which happened to connect to the bioengineering sector through some weird path that made music sense electromagnetically, but not physically. Jash Rax's sensory hairs curl inward. You're saying the station tried to fix your mistake and made it worse? I confirm, which means if I reach for the cable, wait. Jash Rax grabs my arm. If you're wrong, then we'll find out really quickly, I say, and yank the cable out. For exactly 3 seconds, nothing happens. Then the singing stops. The vibrations cease. The blue light in the junction fades to a normal level, and very slowly the alarms begin to quiet. Jash Rax's exoskeleton shifts from stressed purple to a cautious orange, his sensory hairs relaxing slightly. It worked, don't sound so surprised, I say. Spock's voice crackles over the intercom. Sector 7 has stopped expanding. Biological growth is stabilizing. Systems returning to normal parameters. Her vocal slit harmonics sound genuinely confused. How Josh Rax looks at me, his wedge-shaped head tilting, she unplugged it. The silence that follows is broken by what I swear is Spock laughing, except it sounds like wind chimes having a seizure. We return to the weeded administrative hub where Spock is reviewing data displays that are vibrating information at her in patterns I can't begin to understand. Her exoskeleton has returned to a calm purple-green. You destabilized our entire station, she says. Music caused multiple cascade failures, triggered exponential biological growth, and nearly breached our hull. Yeah, I say, wincing. Sorry about that. Then you fixed it by unplugging something. Spock continues. I mean, I also plugged it in wrong in the first place. I point out. Josh Rax's sensory hairs quiver with what might be amusement, his exoskeleton music flickering through lighter colors. You operate on pure chaos. You can't perceive our systems. You barely understand your own, and yet you somehow interact with technology in ways that shouldn't be possible. I shrug. It's a gift, really, a terrible, terrible gift. Spock's sensory hairs curl thoughtfully. The question is, what do we do with you? Josh Rax's exoskeleton flashes purple. Throw her off the station, or Spock says slowly. We keep her. Both Josh Rax and I turn to stare at her. Well, I stare. He points his sensory hairs. You want to keep the human who nearly destroyed us? Josh Rax vibrates with disbelief. Think about it, Spock says, her two arms gesturing expressively. Our systems are designed for species. With our sensory capabilities, we can't interface with human technology effectively and clearly. Humans can interface with our technology just very badly. Hey, music, I protest, but badly. In interesting ways. Spock continues. What if we hired her as a consultant, specifically for cross-species technical problems? You want to weaponize my incompetence? I say. Josh Rax's exoskeleton cycles through several colors in rapid succession. This is the worst idea you've ever had. I'm standing right here, I remind them. Spock's sensory hairs point directly at me. What do you think, Josephine? Would you like a permanent position as our chaos consultant? Official title: specialist in unintended system interactions. I look at Josh Rax, who has gone fully pale green, which I think means he's given up. I look at Spock, whose exoskeleton is doing that slow color wave thing. That means curiosity. I look at the display still showing the aftermath of my catastrophic repairs. How much does it pay? I ask. Spock's vocal slit produces what I'm now certain is laughter. And that's how I became the first and only human chaos consultant on Cathara Orbital Station, where my job description is literally, please don't touch anything. But if you do, we'll watch very carefully to see what breaks. Josh Rax still doesn't trust me. His exoskeleton goes purple whenever I enter a room. But yesterday, he asked me to look at a malfunctioning sensor array. And when I fixed it by hitting it with my wrench, he made that wind chime sound. I'm pretty sure we're friends now.